The Lord be with you. Let us pray. O God, our great companion, you are the light of minds that know you, the life of souls that love you, and the strength of wills that serve you. Help us so to know you that we may truly love you, so to love you that we may fully serve you, and in serving you know perfect freedom. Amen. It's a real pleasure today to welcome our guests, Dilnaz Waraich, along with her sons, Mohsen and Salih. And I don't want to take up any more time really than that, because I know everybody's really interested in hearing what they have to say about living their Islamic faith here on the North Shore. So let me introduce Dilnaz first. Thank you.
Good morning. Like Reverend Chris said, my name is Dilnaz. I've lived in Winnetka for the last 5 years, and I was raised in Morton Grove. So from Morton Grove, we moved to Glenview. So from Glenview to Winnetka. So it's not too far where I've been able to experience too much of the North Shore, but I've really been happy with the last 5 years we've been here. A little bit about myself. I'm an educator. I work with Northwestern University. I have my own educational company, and I just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So when Reverend Chris told me like a month ago, hey, would you like to do this? I'm like, yeah, I totally would like to do this, but I'm not sure if I'll be alive. But if I'm alive, I would totally like to do this. So I'm alive, I'm back. I had a great experience. Definitely something I wanted to do to challenge myself and get myself out of the comfort zone. So living and practicing Islam in the North Shore, that's a little bit what we're going to talk about. But it was kind of a nice breath of fresh air getting this email from Reverend Chris just to talk about like how it feels to be a practicing Muslim in the North Shore. So that's what we're going to talk about. And so I'm Dilnaz, and then Mohsen and Salih will talk a little bit about themselves.
Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me? All right, excellent. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to speak with you guys today on this beautiful Sunday morning. My name is Mohsen Waraich. I'm a senior at New Trier High School. Played 4 years of high school football, and next year I'll be going to Butler University in Indianapolis.
Hi, I'm Salih Waraich. I'm a freshman at New Trier. I wrestle and throw shot put. So, yeah.
So today, to start off the presentation, we're just going to go over the basics of our religion of Islam. And we have the 5 pillars of Islam, which are the building blocks of our faith.
And at any point, this is like really just a casual conversation with our neighbors. So just raise your hand, jump in, ask questions. So feel free.
At the end of this short PowerPoint presentation, we'll also have a question and answer segment, but you can also stop us during the presentation as well. So the first pillar of Islam is the declaration of faith, and in Arabic it is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. In English it translates to there is no God but God, and Prophet Muhammad is his messenger. And so in order to accept Islam as your faith, this is what you would say.
Okay, so the second pillar is prayer. In Arabic, it's salah, and we pray 5 times a day. The first one is right before the sun rises, and that's at like 6 o'clock. It's kind of a struggle to wake up and pray then, but yeah. The next one is at noon, so around like 12-ish, and then we have the mid-afternoon prayer, and then the fourth one is at right after sunset, and then the last one's right before we go to sleep. So these are sometimes they're hard to do, but you can pray anywhere you want, anytime you need to. So you can pray like in the car, at school. Sometimes I wrestled, and so I asked them if I could have a room after school. So after school, I'd always just go and pray my second and third prayer after school. They were really nice about it, and yeah.
Oh, is it a specific prayer, or you make it up as you go, depending on how you do it?
So I always pray the first prayer in the morning, and then the second and third prayer I'll miss because of school, so I'll make those 2 up after, so it's those 2 specific prayers I make up.
So the 5 daily prayers that you mentioned, they all have they're kind of sets. And so the first morning prayer has kind of 2 sets of 2, if you will. And they vary from length. And so the morning prayer is the shortest one. I mean, kind of makes sense. You're getting up that early. And the nighttime prayer is actually the longest one. And so some of them have 4 sets, another 4 sets, and another 2 sets. So yeah, they differ from the amount of time it takes. But in all of them, you say the same things. You start off saying God is great, which is Allahu Akbar. You raise your hands and you start your prayer. You say the same opening of the Holy Book, the short chapter, just a few lines, and then you read another short chapter as well. That's how it works. Yes. So, yeah. So, yeah, in prayer, yes. However, similar, just outside of prayer, you can ask God whatever you want. We call it dua. So you just ask God for a prayer. Everybody does it. God, please let me get an A on my next test. So, but when you're yes, it does.
You have to put some effort into it too.
Does that answer your question?
So every prayer, there's 5 daily prayers. So every prayer doesn't have a purpose except to praise God and to make sure that God is part of your life every step of the way. So when I enter my car, I can say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim in the name of God. So before I start eating, I say a prayer in the name of God. So every single thing in our life, always we're remembering God in every action. So with the prayers, what happens is in the morning, it's a shorter prayer, but there are definitely set ayahs or
Verses.
verses that you need to say from the Quran. And children are taught at a very young age. Usually at the age of 5, they're watching their parents pray. We take them to the mosque. They're watching their moms and dads doing the up and down motion. There's a lot of movement. So a lot of meditation goes into prayer as well. Okay, the third pillar is, the third, staring at each other. The third pillar is almsgiving, which is zakat or sadaqah. And every Muslim needs to give sadaqah once a year in their life. Once a year. So usually Muslims prefer to give it at the end of Ramadan. So Ramadan is a month in the lunar calendar. So we collect 2.5% of your savings and you give that for zakat. So every Muslim that has 2.5% of their savings is given as zakat. But if you don't have the savings, then you don't need to give zakat. And it's your choice on who you want to give it to. You could give it to the mosque, and the mosque will distribute it. But if you know a needy family and you would like to give your zakat to that person, you can do that as well. It's similar to almsgiving, sadaqah. I think the Jewish community does that as well, so it's similar to that.
The fourth pillar, my mom just mentioned it, is fasting during the month of Ramadan. The Ramadan is the 29 to 30 days. It is a month in our lunar calendar where Muslims abstain themselves from food and drink. And it seems like it's a very tough month, especially now. Right now it's kind of in the middle of the summer, so days go about 17 hours from dawn till sunset. However, as crazy as it sounds, it's my favorite time of the year because it's 30 days of getting closer to God and really kind of purifying yourself. During that time, I go to the mosque way more often. All of us do. You'll see there's special nightly prayers during that month as well, and the entire mosque will be filled all the way to the back. They'll break into the gym because so many people want to get closer to God. It's a special time. So me, personally, Ramadan is tough because I played football and I had to fast while playing football as well. So, and surprisingly, I'm okay. I came through and it was, but the thing I found the most amazing was one time I fasted outside Ramadan. And in the month, I think my mom can also agree with me on this, there's something about fasting 17 hours that it just doesn't seem like you're without food or drink for 17 hours. It comes easier, and it's a whole month, but it kind of flies by, and then you're waiting for the next year.
That's just for some people. For me, it feels like 17 hours. Sitting in the basement, noticing how many food commercials are on the TV. But yeah, that's me.
The other thing about Ramadan is we follow the lunar calendar. So this year it'll be like June 4th all the way to July 4th. So we like plan our vacations, our summer schools, everything is planned around making sure that we're able to be at home and do as much, connection to God as possible.
What's the significance of Ramadan? Like, how does it? Like, I've heard of it, but I actually don't know. Like, what it is.
So Ramadan is one of the Islamic months, and it is the month where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, where the Quran was sent to him. He went to a cave called Hira just to relax and retreat. And when he was there was an angel that came by and gave him this revelation, and that revelation came from God. And Muhammad actually didn't know how to read or write, or he was not a literate person. But when he got this revelation, the angel kept telling him to read, and he's like, I don't know how to. So he got this entire Quran sent to him within the 30 days. So that's why Ramadan is one of the most religious, important months, because the Quran was revealed at that time. And that's also why Muslims spend so much time reading the Quran during the month of Ramadan, or going to the mosque to recite the Quran during the month of Ramadan.
What determines which month it is? I mean, sometimes it's in the winter or spring or summer. I mean, it occurs at different times throughout the year.
Right. So the lunar calendar kind of shifts in relation to the Gregorian calendar. So if it starts on June 18th, I think that's what it started on last year, right?
18th, right.
June 18th last year. This year it'll start around June 8th or 9th. So it just shifts back 10 years in relation to the Gregorian calendar. 10 days, not 10 years. So yes, it does. That's how it kind of shifts based upon the calendar that we live in. Does that make sense?
But do you go about your daily? I mean, you go to work if you have a job and you whatever. We were in Israel, and we also at one point we were in Algiers, or I don't know. Anyhow, we were on a train, and it was during Ramadan. And this man got on and shared our compartment, and it was just about sundown.
Mhm.
And he brought out from his bag some food and to set the table and all this stuff, so that apparently he had been fasting all day, but he'd been at work, I guess, and whatever. So you
So
still.
during Ramadan, we definitely have our normal schedule. The only thing is we are just aware it is Ramadan. So we all go to work the way we usually go to work. They go to school, they take their exams. Like I'll email their teachers when they were younger saying that, it's Ramadan. Please realize that they are not eating for 17 hours. When we say eating, it's no drinking of water. Nothing goes past your throat for sunrise all the way to sunset. So it's dawn.
Dawn.
It's actually dawn until sunset. So it's a total of about 17 hours. So when he plays football, like in 90-degree weather, and he's running around, we are all like, "Don't do it, don't do it." Even his coach is like, "Don't do it," but he wants to play football, and that's what he's passionate about. So he will do it. The rest of us, we go to work. We'll do everything. Yeah. So if you are an expecting mother, or you're not feeling well, or you're elderly, or you have any type of health issues, you do not need to fast. And let's say just that time during Ramadan you're not feeling well, like if you're expecting during Ramadan, you do not need to fast. But once you're done giving birth and you're feeling better, then you do need to make up those 30 days. That's really hard, really hard. So if you had a lot of babies and you need to make up all those 30 days, yeah.
Really quick, I just want to go back to your question. Just kind of the importance of the month as well, kind of understanding what it's about. It's also, so like I kind of mentioned, it's a time of self-control as well. You're without food or drink, so people say like it's a month of kind of kind of getting a feel of what it's like to be without food and drink, like people in the world live. However, at the end of the day, we're shoving our faces with food and drink, and so that's exact kind of doesn't really do justice to figuring out how that feels. But it's a time of learning self-control. You're without food or drink. You have to control your temper. I deal with him. It's terrible. And it's a time where you learn more about yourself, and you kind of have to. So self-control is really important in that month. So that's just kind of going up more important.
You had a question?
How young do children start observing Ramadan or fasting?
So I went to a Islamic private school when I was a kid, and so funniest thing is kids want to fast. And so we don't really, so I say when you hit puberty around 13, 14 years old, that's kind of when it's more mandatory for the 30 days. But up until then, kids will do like a half-day fast, maybe like 6 times a month, through around 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I remember the first time I fasted an entire day was, I think, in 1st or 2nd grade. And I still remember it very vividly because it was a terrible experience when you're a kid. But as you get older, you get more used to it. So, kids start off when they're younger, but when you get to puberty, that's kind of when it becomes more mandatory for the entire 30 days.
All these 5 pillars become mandatory once you reach puberty. So the 5 daily prayers become mandatory once you reach puberty. Fasting, if you would like to go for Hajj and you have the money for Hajj, that becomes mandatory after puberty.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a meal after sunset, and is that a limited consumption?
Yes, you can. So when you break your fast, up until when you start your fast again the next morning, you can eat whatever you would like in that time period. So yes, you can. You break your fast. Typically, you'd break it with a date. It's a dried fruit. It's delicious, and a glass of water, which is the best glass of water you will ever have in your life. And you'll eat. Then you'll do the sunset prayer, come back, and then eat as much as you want again. Since I was playing football, I always drank way too much. You can ask my mom. She would start freaking out because I drink like a huge Gatorade, and then I'm not eating anything because I'm filled with liquids. But yes, you can. Between that time period, you can eat whatever you'd like. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Talk about fasting during your football practice, and you talked about getting a room to pray before your, was it wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there other Islamic athletes on your teams?
No.
No?
No.
Yeah,
I didn't.
no.
I didn't no.
They go to New Trier, so there's not too much diversity.
I'm still surprised there's not one other person.
There was, yeah, so it was just me. And I also, when I was a freshman as well, a sophomore, I also get a prayer room as well. But for my 4 years, I was the only Muslim on the team.
On the team.
On
What
the
about
team.
in your grade?
There's a handful of us. We actually just gave a presentation, my brother and I, and then a couple other Muslim students during the MLK seminar at New Trier. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we move on? All right.
So the 5th pillar of Islam is Hajj. Hajj is an annual pilgrimage. It occurs every single year. It's just like with Ramadan. It moves 2 weeks because it does follow the lunar calendar. And if Ramadan, let's say this year starts June 10th, 2 months later will be Hajj. So July, August. So August around 10th will be Hajj time. So what happens is every Muslim that is healthy and that can afford it needs to go for Hajj once in their lifetime. It is a bit costly. I think it's around like $10,000, $15,000. I think I haven't gone in years, so I don't know. But to go to Hajj, you do need about that much money to go. It takes about 2 weeks and then to come back. So if you are healthy and you can afford it, you do need to go to Hajj once in your lifetime.
And you can tell by this picture here, it's just people come from all over the world and concentrate in this one port. There's about 4 million people that come about every year.
No, I think it's about 2 million.
2 million? Maybe let's just say 3 then.
Don't quote us.
No matter the number, that's a lot of people concentrated in the same area. But sorry, question.
So So there's this black cube. You'll see that right in the center, and that is spiritually the house of God. So Prophet Abraham, just the same Abraham that Muslims, Christians, and Jews talk about. So Prophet Abraham built this house in honor to please God with his son as well. So the black cube is located in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and Muslims go there and walk around 7 times while they're chanting, God is the greatest, God is the greatest. And then there's a bunch of other ritual activities that you need to do. It takes about 5 to 6 days to do this, but it's just going from Mecca to Medina to Mina to Arafat. There's a lot of locations, and there's about 2 to 4 million people doing this. So there's a lot of people doing the same exact activity at the same exact time, and that's why, unfortunately, a lot of people do get sick. A lot of people end up passing away during Hajj time. It's physically extremely difficult, so a lot of people try to go when they're younger, and it is very hot in Saudi Arabia. So I remember when I went 20 years ago, it was 120 degrees. So at 120 degrees, you are out there going around 7 times with a whole group of people, being very spiritually involved. It is an amazing experience. It's like going to the Vatican or going to Israel, just getting really passionate about God.
And also, so the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also did that. That was the first time, and so that's why it's a pillar of our religion, and that's why everybody needs to go at least once in their lifetime.
Now, are you fasting during
No.
this? Or
Hajj comes 2 months after Ramadan. So Hajj is a set.
during Hajj, you're not,
No, you don't need to fast. Yeah.
and you're walking from town to town, right?
You can walk. You can actually take I think now there's trains, there's buses, there's a lot of conveniences. It's just that there's so many people doing this activity at the same exact time.
Do they have like food trucks?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
You have a question?
Are there things that you might do to support if you are unable to make the pilgrimage? Do you have a series of activities or prayers or things for those who aren't able to go to support those who are going?
Please go.
So with the Hajj, let's say you are unable to go for financial reasons. So you just, have that discussion with God and say, I would love to go, but I'm unable to go. So you just make sure, sometimes what happens is people that are wealthy will provide finances for people that are unable to go. So you sometimes find a person that could pay for your Hajj, and then you will be able to go. But there's also times where, unfortunately, people pass away, and they could have gone, but they were unable to go, so their children will go on their behalf. So you could do that as well. And I think you don't get 100% credit, but your children can help you through that process. Yeah.
While it's going on in those 2 weeks, if this isn't your year, are there activities you do to stay close to that community, or are there rituals at that time that you guys do here?
So there's Eid al-Adha. There's 2 religious holidays that a Muslim is actively involved in. The first holiday is after Ramadan, which is Eid al-Fitr. Eid al-Fitr just means holiday of giving, because you've just given your zakat and you've given yourself to God during the month of Ramadan, and that's right after Ramadan. The next holiday is Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha comes after the Hajj. So the people that are in the pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, they've completed the Hajj. Everyone that does Hajj wears a white cloth, so we all look equal. No one knows if there's a king or if there's someone wealthy or if there's someone poor. So after they've removed their white garments, then they will also take part of Eid al-Adha. So Eid al-Adha in Chicago, we get up just like on Christmas morning. We get up, we have breakfast together, we might give presents, and then we go to the mosque for religious congregational prayers, and then we'll come back and have our family over. So we do have Eid al-Adha here. A day before the actual Eid al-Adha, we try to fast if that's possible. You could fast on that day as well. So there are activities you can do here, but it's not a 2-week long activity, maybe like a day or 2 activity.
Where's your mosque?
Well, there are mosques all over the North Shore. The one that we're affiliated with is in Morton Grove, the Muslim Educational Center. Um, so
There's about 9 large mosques in Chicagoland all the way. There's one in Burridge. There's one in Villa Park. There's one in Islamic Foundation North, which is in
Libertyville.
Libertyville. So there's about 9 large mosques. With our Muslim Community Center in Morton Grove, we have about 5,000 members. Because there's so few mosques, we will drive 20 minutes away to go to that mosque. Whereas, it's really nice having a church so close by where you could walk there, or you can regularly, just go to your neighborhood church. We usually have to drive to the mosques.
You mentioned that Abraham was a common prophet to Judaism, Christianity, and to Muslim. What's the chronological sequence of his development as a prophet of Muslim?
Um,
Is Abraham is he the same as Muhammad?
no, so well, we all three of these religions, we all have the same prophets that we believe in: Adam, Abraham, Moses, and so for us, we have Muhammad as our last prophet who gave us the holy book and the teachings. So I'm not 100% sure what your question is. Can you just quickly repeat it? I'm sorry.
Here are three distinct religions,
Right.
but obviously there must have been some period of intermixing and then breaking off. And I guess how did that happen?
So Abraham was the father of the religion. So Abraham was definitely one of our most revered prophets. In the Quran, there are a total of 40 prophets mentioned, and Abraham is one of them. And there's a total of 2 or 3 women mentioned in the entire Quran, and Mary was definitely highly revered as well. So there's a lot of connections between stories that are written in the Quran as well as written in the Bible. So Abraham is the father of our religion. He's the one that definitely set down the tone for the what was going to be practiced for Islam. So if you have any other questions outside of the 5 pillars, we'd be very welcome to answer those as well.
Start back there first. Yes. You go first.
My name is Rocco. You know, it has been very enlightening to listen to you and to the characteristics of the Muslim religion. And now I would like to shift the ground to something more difficult and more troublesome. And I'm going to ask you some questions, but you don't have to answer. It's up to you to answer. You know, we live at a time where we cannot find ourselves fenced here, but we need to look what happens in the rest of the world. And so, if we look to what is happening in the Middle East today, at the terrible events, at the tragedies there, you know, my question is, you as Muslim see that, and what are your feelings, and how do you see the future of the Muslim religion in a larger context?
That is a great question, first of all. That is a great question. And
Donald Trump can't answer that.
you know, it is a serious question, but it's also an extremely important question. You're very right about that. And I think all three of us can touch upon this. First of all, because we have someone, my mom, and then us, we're more adolescent, and so we kind of have different viewpoints from this. And nowadays it's turbulent times, especially being a Muslim in America, what we kind of see in the media and what's going on, the terrible things that are happening in the Middle East and elsewhere in the world. And I think what we've talked about this kind of as a family and how we kind of deal with it. We have to be ourselves, honestly. And we know that people might have different interpretations of our religion that are not true. And I think the thing that we always say is just act normal. People need to see that Muslims are your everyday people that wrestle, play football, that are teachers. And so that is our way of leading by example in a way, and just to show people that, what you see and what is happening in the Middle East does not represent our religion as a whole.
I want to give him the opportunity. I think there's extremism in every form, in the way you exercise, the way you eat, everything you do. There's extremism. So it's not new to our society at all. All we're doing is because we have social media and we've got a lot of media out there. It's definitely being in the forefront. We do live in a society that's very negative. We live in a society that's built on fear. But I really, at home, with my life, with my children, I feel like there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope, and I know there's hope because I live in Winnetka, and I have my neighbors that call me regularly every time something crazy happens, and they're always like, hey, Dilnaz, is everything okay? How are the boys doing? And I was like, wow, that is really nice of them to do that. But that's because I think they know what type of person I am. I care about them. I'm a fabric of the American society, and they care about me. So I feel like there's Ku Klux Klan, and it's an extremism of a certain faith. We don't associate with those people. There's, ideology that's happening in Islam. They are taking it from the Quran. They are saying they are part of Islam, but that's what they believe, and they're really angry, and they can get that information from the Quran. But they are not Muslims, they're not like us, and they're not what represents Islam.
You mentioned that there was a room that the church provided you for your prayer. Can you make any other accommodations for you two at your schools?
Good.
Well, me personally, she asked, are there any other accommodations that New Trier makes for me being a Muslim student? So for me specifically, no, because I haven't really needed any, but I know there's one other Muslim student in the school who does like to leave for the Friday prayer. That's not something I'm like too up for, but he asked if he could leave at like 8th, 9th period, because I know he has like gym or something there on Fridays to go to the Friday prayer, and they do let him do that, and he's excused for that. But for me specifically, I've just asked for that room, and they've been totally for it.
For me, playing football and fasting, my coaches are very understanding about my religious what it kind of conflicted with my football. And so, yes, I also had a room to pray, and everybody's very open about it. I've never had an issue with asking for a room to pray or fasting with football, and the coaches are always making sure I'm okay. Sometimes I feel great, but if I look like I'm about to pass out, they'll say, sit this one out. And but yeah, New Trier has been very, very accommodating for whatever we need. So, yes, ma'am.
Being two teenagers on the North Shore of New Trier, do you date outside of your religion?
No, I mean, I don't really date in general. But no, we don't. No, we don't date. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. In our religion, in our religion, we don't date until or do anything. Can you just? You're way better explaining this than I am.
So religion, marriage is a very important aspect of our life. And when you choose that special person, you need to be at that certain maturity to realize, oh, is this the person I'm looking for? Is he or she, at the same maturity level or economic level or the drive? So I feel like what we've decided at our home is when they feel like they're at that level where they find someone special, then they could definitely choose to, explore another person. I mean, they have friends, they go to homecoming, turnabout.
That's what I meant, like a dance. I didn't mean necessarily a
Okay.
serious relationship.
Yeah. So right now,
Proms and stuff?
Yes, I
Non-Muslim.
just went to turnabout last week with a friend of mine. Yes.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yes. Sorry, misinterpreted the question. That's all right. Yes, sir, in the back.
There are 72 different sects of Islam, Sunni and Shia being the largest. Are all of the sects welcome in the 9 mosques in the Chicago area?
Absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, we're all Muslim and we all believe in the same God. Obviously, the overwhelming majority are Sunni and Shia. And one time, we were in Dearborn, Michigan, and there is a large Shia Muslim community there. And we got to visit. the most beautiful mosque I've ever been to in the United States.
Wasn't it was like the largest mosque in like
Yeah.
over the Midwest or something like that?
And so we got to go to the mosque, and um, them being Shia and us being Sunni, there were slight differences between the way they prayed, but there was never a sense of we were unwelcome at their masjid or sorry, their mosque. There's always a sense of community no matter where you are. I feel at the end of the day, if you say you're Muslim, no matter what sect you're from, you're all one. So. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if you could remember back to being children, however early you started fasting and praying five times a day, what you thought about that. I know there are like, different levels of strictness, and so your parents can be forgiving with you. But what did you think as little kids about like prayer and having to do that a certain number of times a day, like the big kids and the adults?
Right. You want to go first?
Yeah, so as a kid, I remember I was always super excited if I prayed 5 times a day after I fasted like half a day or something, because I think I saw like Mohsen doing it. And I was like, oh, I can finally do it like him. And then I saw him fast 30 days in a row, and he got like some present or something. I was like, I can't wait to fast 30 days. And so I think at that young of an age, I didn't really want to pray, but I just wanted to pray because I saw everyone else doing it, and it was just like the norm. And like our cousins are all going to pray, maybe I should go pray with them. So at a young age, I think I wanted to pray and fast more than I do now, because I think now it's a little bit more of a burden. But yeah.
I think when you're a kid, because we both went to private schools, Sama schools, and so kind of seeing kids a few grades older than you, praying 5 times a day, they set like an example for you, and you seeing your parents pray and going to the mosque and seeing people pray, I have an understanding like this is kind of what is necessary for me. And kind of what you were saying is you're really ambitious to start doing it when you get older. And obviously you kind of ease into it, but I remember just being really ambitious, like wanting to not miss a prayer and wanting to fast. So yeah, that's a great question.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you then, I know you're an educator too, how as a parent do you speak to really young children about something sort of as ephemeral as prayer, but that also has like, a set amount of times a day to do it? Do you guys do that?
I think it has to come from inward. You have to have a love and a desire to do this. So we never came from like, get up, you have to pray, you have to do this. It's more like, well, Daddy and I are praying, so, you should join us. And sometimes they wouldn't join us, and sometimes they would join us. But it's really just modeling positive behavior at home. Hopefully, it teaches children to model that behavior when they get to make choices. And of course, I can't watch them pray now, and if they say they pray, I totally believe them. But you want to, yeah, right. You want them to naturally want to love something, because that's how everything happens. If you don't naturally love it, then it's just not going to happen as you become an adult. Yeah.
Could I please ask a second impertinent question? If we look at our country today, how do you see the Muslim people faring here and being treated? And after you give your input to this question, I would be happy to give you my view.
How do you think the Muslim people are being treated? How do you feel that's going?
Okay, so in the context of just kind of this area, for my brother and I, at kind of being at New Trier in my high school, I've never faced any sort of discrimination. Nobody's ever come up to me, not at school, outside of school, anywhere, and I'm very grateful for that. However, nowadays, a lot of that hate is generated through, in the internet and through the media. And so that's where I see more of the hate and the, in my opinion, misunderstanding of our religion and our people. And so at the same time, I also see a lot of good coming from it, because more and more people are actually realizing that this isn't true. And it's a tough time, but at the same time, we, like I kind of said before, at the end of the day, we all know what is true to us. And but as of right now, personally, I haven't received any. Nobody's come up to me, hated on me, but somebody I knew from middle school on Facebook posted anti-Islamic stuff, and I messaged him. I said, "Listen, man, you're entitled to your own opinion. However, Muslims are not terrorists. That's not what our religion is about." And I know I wrote maybe like 3 or 4 sentences, and then I know he didn't read the whole thing because 2 seconds after I sent, he said, "Okay, cool." So I guess it didn't get to his head, but I see, at the end of the day, it's our duty, I feel, to erase the misunderstanding, and that's what's going to separate people from thinking the wrong thing about a religion to what's true about us.
We live in a democracy, and it is our responsibility to voice our opinion. So when I'm paying taxes here, I voice my opinion. When I work where I work, I voice my opinion. So if I'm a Muslim, I am going to voice my opinion about what Islam is. I don't let other people dictate to me what I should wear, how I should act. I know what's right, I know what's wrong, and I will make sure I will do, behave, I will do what I need to do, but I'm very confident in who I am and what I want, and I will not allow someone to tear me down. And that's not what anyone else should do to anyone else. And we have tons of candid conversations. So what if someone did this to you? What if someone said that to you? And I think we are more proactive than we are reactive. And we need to be proactive because there are going to be negativity that's going to come by. And I'm not going to, at that second, be able to figure out how to answer that question or what I need to do. But I am constantly talking about it in our home. If something should happen, how do we react to it?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. This was such a breath of fresh air come here on this beautiful Saturday morning. We really appreciate Sunday morning. I'm still in Tunisia, Tanzania time. Actually, I got up at 4 o'clock this morning. So thank you so much for having us here. Thank you for letting us be open and honest and discuss things. But one thing I will really say out to everyone and go out and spread this message, please ask questions and ask questions of a lot of people. So you might have heard our answers. You may not believe our answers. You may have heard our answers and you might think, wow, that's a really great group of answers. But ask questions, get involved, and don't let other people make your decisions for you. Don't let other people decide what Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism is about. We're here. Anytime you see us at the Grand or running down Sheridan Road or bike riding, stop us and ask us questions because that's what we really love. We like to answer questions. So the next thing I wanted to say is on April 17th, just like I'm a fabric of this community, I am also the vice president of the Winnetka Interfaith Council. On April 19th, we are having a program called Finding... Thank you. April 17th, we are doing a program called Finding Inner Peace, and it's just talking about how the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, how all these holy books talk about how we can find inner peace. And it is located at, where are we having the program? I'm already forgetting. Oh, right, Winnetka Presbyterian Church, yes. So hopefully we'll see you all on April 17th as well. Thank you.
Thank you.